We'll go ahead and call the meeting for your consent, and if you will please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Jaber, you have an announcement?
Yes, before roll call, we do have microphones that work, but we are not streaming and we're not recording the equipment going down again. So we ask everybody to speak real clearly in your microphones so we can pick it up on the security system, okay?
Very good.
And that includes anybody coming up, microphones up here, please speak clearly in the microphone so we can accurately record it. Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Marvin Rickner. Jim Clarita.
Here.
Bob Galliano.
Here.
Luther Williams.
Here.
Deb Cook.
Here.
You have the forum.
Thank you. Any correspondence?
One piece of correspondence. It's kind of a, we did receive a letter from someone on the first case. It's from Mr. Wes Hubert. We'll have it in the file.
All right. Okay. And that's it? Okay.
That's all.
All right, under old business, our first case, UB 20-0041, Brooke Sherbon. The location is 69 West 900 South in Cab. The zoning is A1, general agriculture, acres is 1. We need a motion to deny. Petitioner is no longer in need for the use variance allowing a dog grooming business out of the primary structure.
So moved. Second.
Who is the second?
Luther.
Luther. Roll call vote is acceptable here, I believe.
Roll call.
No, I'm sorry. Roll call.
Voice vote?
Voice vote, I'm sorry.
All those in favor, we have a motion to deny. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Our next case is under old business is UV 2023-33, Ross Huber. The location is 407 East, 200 North in Valpo. The zoning is A1, general agriculture. The acres is 37.36. The request is to continue the operation of a lawn care business out of an existing accessory structure. Do we have a petitioner here?
It's us.
Okay. All right, would you like to come forward and tell us what you,
You want me to come forward?
yes.
Okay.
We'll need your name and address first, and then just tell us what's happened between the last, we have new board members since you were here last time also.
I see that,
So,
okay.
just kind of explain what your business is, why you're here, and if anything's changed from the last time,
Sure will.
please.
My name is Ross Huber, home address 554 Northview Drive, Valpo.
I'm Amy McDonald, 393 East 200 North, Valparaiso.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Just explain your business to us and
Okay.
why you need the business.
Yeah, we have a lawn care business. We've been in Valpo probably 25 years, long time. And we just want to continue being able to rent the property. The current past owner was Bill Pierce, a farmer. He has since then, since we've had our early meetings years old, he's passed away. So I deal with the kids and paying rent to them and doing that. So, and reason we had to come up here before, Amy, the neighbor, was a little flustered because all of a sudden a lawn care company comes, you know, and Bill didn't tell her, and so that was an issue to her, and she didn't know us from that. Since then, we've gotten to know each other for a couple of years here, and we've gotten along great now. We do some snow plowing for her, lawn care stuff that she has us do. So my relationship with Amy now is not known, but we're doing good together now. So I just want to let you know that things are running smooth there. There's no issues. We pay our bills on time to the kids of Bill Peters. So, and I would like to continue running the business there. So so
Okay.
that's where we're at.
Any complaints or calls or
None.
any questions or comments from the board? Start with you, Bob.
I visited the site, everything looks nice and clean, there's not a lot of things stored outside or anything like that. It
Correct.
looks very good over there. No issues.
Thanks, Bob.
Jim?
Nothing's changed, different, signage?
Nothing has changed.
Luther?
No.
All right, we're ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the business to be run, the lawn care business on the property at 407 East 200 North of Valparaiso.
Do we have a second?
So, for what period of time?
What period of time?
Will we go 2 years? Is that?
What did we go before? Did we go 5 years?
The last one was two.
2
years.
And there's the contingencies on there, I'm assuming they.
Yeah, let me read those real quick. 2 years contingent on hours being 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Arborvitae or some type of a buffer will be installed and maintained by petitioner. At the end of 2 years, he'll be looking for another place to run his business. No weekend hours of operation unless it rains. That was the conditions.
So would the motion like to add a year and same contingencies?
Yes.
How many years?
I would say 2 years.
Okay. The only thing I would say to you that is, the role of our providers was to help protect her from visibility stuff. As long as we're good together, you know, not do that.
Yeah, because there is no buffer or nothing like that between properties.
No.
But I would say since
Yeah.
the neighbors getting along with them and things that.
If she does have a problem down here, I have no problem doing it, but.
I called him or text him, and he's very responsive.
No, it says a lot of you showing up, I think, helps a lot.
Okay, does the second agree with adding the
I
2 years?
I would have made it longer than that.
That's why I appreciate that. Yeah.
A lot of times we go 5.
Let's go for 5 then, that's fine with me. 5 is fine.
Okay,
Good.
all right.
Who was the second?
Luther?
Luther, you agree with the
Yes.
additions to the first? We have a motion and a second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Motion carries.
Thank you, Board, appreciate it.
The next case is UB 2025-4200 South. Location is 242 West 900 South Hebron, zoning is A1 General Agriculture, acres is 5.59, and request is to continue the operation of well drilling business with outside storage.
Gerald Souls, I live at 242 West 900 South. Gentleman come out the other day, 2 weeks ago, and told me to make sure I had my registrations for all vehicles. And I brought them in. And he said, just clean up some scrap and do the weed, and he said he was fine. He was happy.
What about the number count?
I didn't count them, I didn't count them, to be honest with you.
I believe he did, and we had given you a list of how many you could have, and I think you were over on all of them.
He showed me a paper, but he checked everything out, he was happy with what he saw, so.
The letter we got shows the number that you were over. That was from him.
Oh, I didn't receive the number over.
Yes.
And some clarification. So the code enforcement officer went out there and looked at the property. So the vehicles out there, I mean, it's the board's final decision on the number of vehicles. Code enforcement officer just reporting what is out there. So it's your call, what you want it to be. He did go out there, and Mr. Stiles did take some cars and then moved them to his neighbor's property. So now that problem has been transferred to another piece of property. Code enforcement officer is working with Mr. Stiles, now he's working with the neighbor to get that resolved. There is a little more cleanup than what's being presented by petitioner. There's a lot of stuff that still needs to be done, and we're treating it like any other code enforcement case that we have in our office, where we go look at properties with neighbor complaints, et cetera. I think it's a work in progress. He's been very cooperative. There's still more work to be done, but we're headed in the right direction. So it's the board's decision, what you want to say, how many cars are allowed on the property, and what I might recommend is that anything that you make a motion on is subject to him continuing to work with the code enforcement to clean up this property.
Darrell, you didn't get a letter August 8th from the Development Stormwater Management Office?
Yeah, I signed, got one in the mail, and then I'll...
That's the letter that Ms. Cook is referring to as the letter that outlines that you have 19 vehicles, trucks, trailers, and a camper RV. 9 vehicles/trailers without a valid license plate.
Right, and that's, he told me to make sure I bring the registration.
And that's, I'm only reading part of the letter, but that's the letter Ms. Cook was referring to. I just wanted to make sure you were in receipt of that.
I got the daughter and my son-in-law living there with me too. So they have 2 vehicles too.
And to clarify, the reason the code enforcement office asks for the registration is usually when we run those cases, if they're not licensed, they're not registered, then we ask them to be removed.
Right.
So it's the board's decision how many vehicles, like you said before, can work on the property, that's still your decision. The code enforcement officer just required Mr. Sowell's proof of registration and license.
Could you go back and explain again, just so that I'm clear, maybe the board members too, how closely will code enforcement be working with them, and how effective will you expect code enforcement to be? And I'm asking that only because it seems like we've worked with this for so many years and given him so many options and so many leniencies, and here we are still with the same mess, if not worse, than what we've had before. So I kind of like to know how working with code enforcement will be more effective than what we've done today.
I think since I've been here, we've hired new code enforcement, not to say anybody else before, but we've given them more tools with our unsafe building, hearing officer, and other things. We're turning it around, being more, not aggressive, but more positively enforcing and working with people. We always give people the chance to clean up their property as long as they work with us. We're satisfied with that. If it becomes to the point that they don't, then we've got other means now that we can approach it. This is the unique circumstance. The way I see it, maybe Attorney McClure can add to it, to clarity, but now you're in front of you asking for use variance for how many years you want to give him. I'm sure you could probably put a condition on that, as long as he keeps working with the code enforcement officer as he has. I think maybe we can get clear with this. That's up to you.
All right. Did you have anything further you want to say, Darrell? Okay, we'll go to the board. Luther?
I have a couple of questions. Why do you have so many unlicensed pickup trucks?
They're all licensed. They're all licensed.
Well, not according to the code enforcement
That's
officer.
right.
I'm not talking about registered, I'm talking about licensed.
They're all plated.
What? They're all
Everything's
plated?
plated now, yes. Everything's plated.
So Darrell, did you plate them since the August 8th letter?
Yes, yeah,
So code enforcement went out, located the vehicles,
right.
and since the August 8th letter, he's telling us he's plated those vehicles in the meantime.
Right, and that's what he told me to do.
Okay.
So he said, just make sure everything's up to date, and that's what I did.
Now, and to be clear, I don't want to interrupt you, but we have Alan working on code enforcement and vehicles, unlicensed, et cetera, in somewhat of a vacuum from this variance. So yes, our code enforcement's been out there and said, we've got these vehicles, and now they moved over here, and independently, even if he wasn't here for a variance, code enforcement, if aware, would be enforcing that. So, I just want to be clear that code enforcement has its bag of rules or its property maintenance rules that it's attempting to enforce beyond whatever this board approves or doesn't approve as far as numbers and things like that as vehicles.
Okay. I would just make this comment. I've been out there for, I don't know how many years. It's numerous years. Darrell, you have done, it's not 100%, but my golly, it's looked so much better than it did 5 years ago or 7 years ago. I mean, you've done a lot of work there. And I have to congratulate you on doing that. And I guess the other things will just have to be worked out with code enforcement as far as the vehicles on the other lot is concerned. I guess that's all I've got.
Jim?
Based off of the amount of vehicles being said we would allow in there, how many over I did see right now?
That's what I was just looking for, the list, and I didn't see
Is
it.
it close, is it like 3?
I think we had 10.
Because if you look at
Zach, do you
like,
have that by any chance, the number of vehicles?
It's 19 vehicles.
No, what we had allowed, what
Oh,
was
yeah.
that list that we had given, like, I think it was like 10.
Yeah, let me go back to it. It was, the staff report here.
The last time, didn't we say there was 26 vehicles?
Yes, 36, 38, 17, 23.
I'm just curious if it's close, so just looking at the numbers, you know, over the years, the amount of vehicles definitely has come down.
I think it's 9 vehicles plus racks, is what you stated last time.
And now he's got 19, so.
So I guess myself, driving by there, it looks like a lot of it's hidden, so you can't see it. Taking Luther's, word that it's gotten a lot better over the years. I would be somewhat inclined to maybe approve this, but for no more than a year with the contingency that it gets down to the vehicles that we previously allowed, and while also working with code enforcement to make sure that's in compliance. And in a year, that's all good, and maybe we talk something else, but we've been dealing with this all the time.
I stopped by there on Monday. I mean, it's supposed to be a well-growing business. I don't see any vehicles that would be used for the business. I don't know, I know I've read the report has been going on for several years. I would go as far as say 6 months, if it's not been 6 months, it's over, but it's been going on too long. Have we had any neighbors or anybody complaining at all?
I don't have that information in front of me.
He said nobody complained or no.
It's a pretty remote
Shut up
site.
or anything. Pardon?
It's a pretty remote site.
You can't even see anything from the road. They put $10,000 fence up around the place too, so.
Why have all of that there? Why have all of it there? They're not registered, so many of them are not registered. They're just now moved to another property, well, now that property owner has a problem because he's got all unregistered vehicles on his property. And the vehicles aren't for the business.
Are you looking at old pictures?
I was there on Monday.
Okay. The only thing that's there now is my kids' cars and then the business stuff. That's all that's there.
There's just a lot of debris there, a lot of just stuff. Yeah, the very most I go a year, if it's not cleaned up and looking presentable in the year, that's it. But this is, I mean, you can see how many years this has been going on for us.
It could be less, Bob, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
no more than a year.
Right.
I like the idea of 6 months myself, but that's just my opinion. Unless there's any other questions, do we have a motion?
I'd like to make the motion to go ahead and approve the business for 6 months being used from there. If code enforcement does not approve what's been done within those 6 months, then it's denied after that.
Do we have a second to that motion?
Can I just add that we keep the same amount of vehicles as previously stated? We would allow, yeah.
It was 9 altogether.
How about we say whatever was previously approved as the total amount of vehicles will still apply?
Correct, and I would second that.
Okay. With that addition, Bob, you agree with that?
I do.
Okay. Do we have a second then?
Second.
So a motion and a second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In the case of UV 2025-42, votes are as follows. Bob Gillian, yes. Debbie Keir Cook, yes. Luther Williams, yes. Jim Clarita, yes. 4-0.
In 6 months. That takes us to new business. The rules of conduct for public hearings. At a public hearing before the board, the petitioner or proponent shall first present the facts and arguments in support of the case. Those who oppose the petitioner shall follow. The petitioner shall have rebuttal time at the conclusion of those opposing the petition. Those opposed shall then be allowed a total maximum of 10 minutes to rebut any new statements made by the petitioner in this rebuttal. It should be within the discretion of the board to impose any time limitations on either the petitioner or respondent, and to limit the public comment to those determined by state statutes to be interested parties. Remonstrances shall be accepted by the board, but need not be read into the board's record. This then concludes the public hearing. To maintain orderly procedure, each side shall proceed without interruption by others. All materials presented by the petitioner and/or remonstrators or supporters to the petition, including photographs, shall become property of the board and part of the record. So when we get to the public hearing, your name will be called. We got a microphone over there and one down here. Make ssure, like Mr. Daigle told us earlier, we're just doing this by just the audio. Just make sure you talk into the microphone clearly. And we do need your name and address before we start. So our first case is going to be UB 2025-50 Haven Holdings LLC. Here, Michael Brannon, and I probably said that, and I apologize. The location is 2855 100 West Valpo. The zoning is R1, low density, single family residential. The request is to allow for a temporary 12 by 8 foot double-sided sign to be placed by the entrance of the Sienna major subdivision.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we need your name and address first, and then we'll hear what you...
Good evening. My name is Michael Grancy. With Haven Homes. Address is 175 Lincoln Way, Valparaiso.
If you could just tell us why you're here tonight, what brings you here, what your case is.
I'm here to variance so I can put up a sign on 100 West, just north of the main entrance of Sienna. The sign would be double-sided. It'd be 12 foot wide by 8 foot tall. And I had images of what I plan on putting in that sign, if you want to see it.
Any pictures that you submit will be kept as part of your record, so if you're prepared to leave it, yeah, it'd be nice for us to see it, yeah. Nathan?
It's just north of 30.
This is out there, just out the refresher.
Did you have anything else, Dad?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just trying to market the property to set it up for success. So just so people know that it's there and who to call.
Okay, good. Nobody signed in to speak for or against on this case. Is there anybody in the audience that did not sign in that wishes to talk on this case? Okay, public hearing is closed. Go to comments of the board. Con?
How long are you planning to keep this like there?
It depends on how long it takes me to sell out the neighborhood.
So what's the lots all sold out? or
Yeah,
whatever?
yeah.
Have nothing.
Jim?
What's normally allowed? Is it no sign, is it because of the size? That's a pretty big sign.
Actually, it's both. In this case, this is a construction sign, I think it's viewed as. And so tonight, you allow him to put that sign in, which I know is common, you see them very common.
That's the thing, 'cause I know I see them all the time, so this is,
So if you make a motion to do it, that you're doing it in this particular zoning, in addition, this particular zoning, which is now R1, and the size and the duration. So you should consider that in your motion.
and the other question is, if approved, is there anyone he works with to make sure that it's not obstructing any sort of views on the roads, or?
That could be added to it, but yes, any sign that goes in our UDO, they have to pass the clearance triangle so they don't obstruct views of people going in and out.
I don't have an issue with the sign, I get it, 12 foot by 8 seems like it's big, and we certainly don't want to create any kind of obstruction, so.
I believe location was shared already. That's,
And you can make it that he's got to come, is check out in our office before he does it, make sure that it meets all the requirements that you're going to do. We'd be happy to do that.
Are you sold on 12 foot by 8, or could it be smaller? Because I'm just trying to imagine, like, that's a big sign.
because of the distance, they'll have to keep away from the road to make it visible, was the reason for that.
That's a good point, because in UDO and other classes, the sign is usually a 4 by 8 maximum for construction sign, temporary construction.
And again, I wouldn't be opposed to that, again, as long as it's maybe way back off the road, and as long as the city or county, everybody's good with it, then I don't care. Doesn't matter.
Luther?
I really don't have a problem with the sign. It's gonna be a temporary sign. You don't have it will come down when you're done, when you only have X number of houses to sell, or when all the lots are sold.
And like intentions are, like when everything is sold, is when I would take it down. And sold is different than built, so,
When the lots are sold.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's a different. Okay, that's all I have.
We have a motion?
I would make a motion to approve, UD 2025-50 for a period of 2 years, 1 to 2 years to sell all these lots.
I think I'm anticipating it's a 4-year project.
Okay, so for 4 years, with the exception that the county approves its location, that it's temporary, and it does come out when the last lot is sold. They're gonna be lit up.
Didn't think about that.
So long as it's not, the light's not bothering the neighboring home and stuff like that. Yeah, so long as code in the county and everyone's good with the proper location, I'm fine with the size. If for some reason they're not, the county is not okay with the size, then you guys can work out and reduce it back.
Actually, I prefer that the board designate what size you're comfortable with.
Can I say up to the 12 foot by 8, and then that way if you guys say no, it's only 10 by 8 or something?
Sure.
4 years, not permanent, comes down after the last lot of sold, and working with the county on appropriate.
Maybe to clarify, we just discussed this, maybe you should be specific about what size.
I'm fine with this also by,
That's fine.
I second it.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Do we accept? But I was in my
This has nothing to do with a permanent sign that you won't for the subdivision.
There will be a monument that we built, which is the name of the development. That's completely separate.
Case number UB 2025-51, votes are followed. Jim Clarita, yes. Bob Gilliana, yes. Luther Williams, yes. Eddie Cook, yes. 4-0.
Thank you.
Our next case is UB 2025-51, Audrey and Ann Wilmere. The location is 248 East, 250 South Valpo. The zoning is A1, general agriculture, and the request is to operate a full-service pavement maintenance repair business out of their residence.
Adam Wilmere, 248 East, 250 South, Valparaiso. It says seeking a use variance to continue operating our pavement maintenance business out of our home. And it just clarifies, it's not full service. We don't do full-scale driveways, tear-outs, millings, and large projects like that. It's mainly small asphalt repair, pothole repair, seal coating, and line striping. So it's called full service.
That's it?
What's that?
That's all you have?
Yeah.
Okay. There's nobody that signed in to speak for or against. Anyone in the audience that didn't sign up that wants to talk? Okay, public hearing is closed. We'll go to the board. Bob?
Louis, I drove out there, I saw that you got a nice building in the back, your house there. Will everything be kept inside the building?
During the off-season, I try and cram as much in there just to keep it out of the weather. During the season, some of the product, it doesn't smell that great, so I'd rather, keep them outside in the off-season, during season and off-season, and try to get them in storage.
Could you repeat that into the microphone a little bit?
Sure. Ideally, I try to store everything indoors during the off-season, the winter time, just to protect them from the weather and the elements. While we're using them during the season, not as much, just because it doesn't smell. I don't like pulling that into my shop. Once they're all empty, it's not as bad.
So would it just be barrels, or?
No, it's just, so I have a trailer, it's a tanker trailer.
Oh, okay.
It's just trailers.
Jim?
everything's the same as last time we were here?
Yes, sir.
No signage?
No signage, it's taken down. I have a small 3-foot by 4-foot sign that's really good to see from the road that's been taken out.
So we have neighbors that complain?
Mike? Any neighbor complaints?
Well, this was precipitated by someone did reporting there was a business being operated. That's what started the whole process of in the period of 480. But there's been no submittal since the case was filed.
Okay.
How long ago was he in here? Trying to find that. How long was your last variance for?
This is the first time.
Oh, this,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh. So have you been running it out of there now?
Yes.
And now you're asking people to do it
It's, yeah.
legally, I guess?
I think there's not an excuse, it's an oversight, that we wasn't aware, that we needed that. We missed stuff.
How long have you been running?
April last summer.
Jim, did you have more questions?
I'm thinking, I was thinking this has already been approved once. so-
No. Do you want to move on to Luther and come back?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Luther?
No, I looked at it, I thought the place was, you got a beautiful place there, boy.
Thanks.
And it looked neat, I thought, so I had no problem with it.
Actually, when I was there, I didn't think nothing was even happening back there.
That was kind of-
Very, very clean.
I'm just curious, because I don't have an issue with it, but being the first time it was brought on by a complaint, if you will, do we just do it for a short period, to see if complaints get worse, before we just hand out a 5-year, I guess, well, how I was really thinking about it.
I would agree with that.
A lot of times we'll do 1 or 2 years, rather than there's no complaint and stuff like that, then we can think about it long term, but sure.
So are we ready for a motion?
I might, before you do.
Yep.
Petitioner graciously appeared at our August 7th DRC meeting. There were some things, target things we asked the petitioner to do before he came, so I'll listen and maybe he can address them for you. He needed to get with our health department because he's going to run other restroom facilities there. If that's the case, or he's going to put portable toilets in, he's got to make that decision. Because if he's going to have more toilets out there, the question is the septic system big enough? Signage, he said he took care of, he took that down. And then the two things have to do with containment, because he is using paints and other bitumen, petroleum-based materials. Captures any spills from his tanks or his equipment. And he grips and cleans his equipment there on site as well, what his program is for cleaning the site. And that's pretty much it, so if he wants to address those two.
Yeah, the tank specifically, I was asked what size was it, and it's a double wall, it's 5,000 gallons, it is double wall, it's a brand new tank. We have berms on either side of it for containment. The material, if not familiar with it, it's hard to, like if you spill a gallon of Elmer's glue right here, it's probably not even going to make it to the edge, just up as a bonding agent. We've actually had requests for people to spray their rocks, because it'll hold them all together and almost create a driveway. So if there were a spill of the coal tar material, it's really not going to go anywhere. I don't even think it would get to the berm, so to my wells, to my septic, or to the neighbors. I was asked to get measurements to my well. My main well is over 130 feet from my main house septic, 160 feet from my barn septic, and the well is 150 feet from the front of my barn. The tank's just another 150 feet beyond that, too, and 300 plus, close to 400 feet to even reach that tank. In terms of like tank containment and spills, I try and keep a minimum amount of paint. It's very expensive. And for that reason, I try not to spill it as well. I utilize things that are called pig pads. You can find them on Amazon or anywhere on the internet. They're absorbent sheets. If you saw a spill in a Home Depot or something, like a spill kit, pull out those big tubes, contain that area. Very similar type of material, absorbs it up, and properly dispose of it. There's one contact, and I'm blanking on the name, but right now it's paint disposal, proper recycling and disposal of paint. Like I said, I had very minimal waste because of the cost associated with it, so I try not to spill it. That sounds foolish, but I mean, I really do try to contain the stuff because it is so expensive. Spills are cleaned up immediately with proper solution, and everything's disposed of properly. But the absorbent pads that I use are called pig pads, PFG.
And as far as the restroom facility.
Yeah, I think we mentioned actually just doing a portable would be the easiest way. My wife did meet with Dan. He didn't have all the figures in front of him, but I think that potentially would be the easiest workaround. But we do have 2 separate septic fields that can facilitate. Again, we're not doing work on site. It's just more like shop meetups, and then all the jobs are off site. And right now I have 1 full-time employee other than my family members, so it's fairly, minimal kind of workforce right now. And same with last year, basically just me and my old man running the show. So just trying to keep overhead down and hopefully get a few more employees next summer, but right now it's very minimal.
So you feel like you are going to scale this business where you're trying to grow it more than what you have right now?
Yeah, but the beauty of it is it doesn't have to scale massively. And we are, that is something, a backup plan that we're looking to potentially move to a larger facility in the future. Right now, being in only our second season, is a viable business. Can we make this work? It is something that we want to continue doing. It was a franchise. It literally kind of started out of boredom. I wanted to start something up and, involve my kids and show them some hard work and work ethic and see where it goes from there. So we do have a 5 to 10 year plan where it's either this is going to be something that we want to keep doing for the long term or potentially sell off our franchise rights. So like I said, we're just getting rolling with it and see where it goes from here.
So if we were to approve something, would it be appropriate to put a contingency that they continue working with the DRC?
No, those were just suggestions. I mean, you can come back.
Thanks.
Guarantee C is simply suggestions for him as they go to the next step, either the plan commissioner or the BZA in this particular case.
Again, I would feel comfortable approving this for a year, just to make sure everything goes fine, and then if you're talking about possibly scaling within a year, if we're talking about a bunch of employees, or my neighbors are mad, and there's a bunch of vehicles everywhere, that's under $400 stress, so
Yeah.
I would be fine with this for a year, just to see how it goes.
It'd be a good problem to have.
For sure.
Yeah.
Is that a motion?
It is. With the contingency of no signage, what are your hours of operation?
It's kind of dependent on the customers. I wish it was Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, but it's a little bit random based on customer needs. So we have to, we have a job in Elkhart on Labor Day weekend. They're closed, we have to be open. So that's a little bit of a caveat is our hours are a little wonky because of our customer demand. A lot of times it's after hours, night, or weekend, holidays. But again, we're leaving our site. It's just it's like a farmer pulling a trailer out of his property and heading down the road.
So I don't think I'll make a stipulation on hours, just because we're only doing it for a year, so we'll see how it goes. Just a fair reminder to our neighbors, with
Okay.
trucks at 4 a.m. or,
Yeah.
something like that. Try to be the neighbor.
You've got 1 year and no sign.
1 year, no sign.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I got it. Case number UB 2025-51 with votes are as follows. Jim Clarion, yes. Bob Galeani, yes. Luther Williams, yes. David Cook, yes. Approved 4-0.
End of year.
All right, thank you all, appreciate it.
Okay. That brings us to case UB 2025-52. The applicant, James Sharon Fitzgerald, care of attorney Scott Young. Location is 27 South 100 West in Valpo. The zoning is R1, low density, single family residential district, and the request is to operate the county.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity to appear. My name is Scott Yaney. Yaney works, anything close? No?
Thank you.
Anything works. My business address is 3 Lincoln Way, Suite 201, right here in Valparaiso. This is
James Fitzgerald, and 27 South 100 West, Valparaiso, Indiana.
And we brought before you this evening a request for a use variance, and I'm sorry, my voice is, I think it'll hang on tonight, but been battling a cold lately. We're seeking a use variance to operate a kennel commercial. I do want to at least speak to that term. That's a defined term in the Unified Ordinance. And it connotes some things that Jim does not do, and I'll explain what he does on the property momentarily. Connotes some things that he does not do. For example, he does not breed dogs, but he has a training service. And that does fall under the definition of kennel commercial, so I don't want to suggest that it doesn't, but I also know that people sometimes have breeding operations, and they also would have ideas that there would be many more dogs than he would have on his property. He has up to 10 at a time, and that would be the maximum that would visit on his property, which is a little over 9 acres. And so he has a dog training that he'll be able to give you some detail about what that involves. But he's seeking to continue the operation. He's 27 South 100 West. He is, and I've given you a supporting letter to orient you, and I show on there that he is in a single-family R1 residential district, low density. He is in an area that has agricultural uses nearby, but not on his designated land. If you were to look at his land, it looks like it had been an agricultural use, and in fact, he and his wife live in a farmhouse that they restored on that property. He has been associated with this property since 2019. The folks before him did have a dog breeding facility there and had operated that starting in 2016. Jim leased the property from them initially, Jim and Sharon, his wife, leased the property. Unfortunately, they didn't see somebody like Scott who does this kind of work, and only recently discovered that he didn't have the zoning entitlements necessary for this property. And it became, as it became known to him, he sought out my assistance, and that's what brought us here. To my knowledge, it wasn't a complaint I've heard otherwise, but Jim approached me, and talking with staff here, we determined that a use variance would be the first appropriate step, but even if we are approved tonight, we have a further step. I've contemplated that further step in my letter, so it's a little longer than it needs to be because it talks about a developmental variance. But Christie suggested that why don't we focus on the use variance tonight, and then if that's granted, then we'd come back for a developmental variance. So tonight we're seeking the use variance. As I pointed out, they live in the farmhouse on the property. On page 6 of my letter, I've given you some aerial depictions of the property so that you can kind of see the buildings that are sited. In addition to the farmhouse, there are 2 well-kept buildings, and then there are some ancillary buildings off there. I tried to give you a pretty good sampling of the operation, the facility, inside and out, so that you can see how it is maintained and where the dogs reside, both in and when they're outside, the kennels that are outside. In my task tonight, I have to show you that we satisfy the Indiana statute, and then I've got some findings under the Unified Ordinance. And the first Indiana statute requirement is that I would have to show you that approval of this use variance is not injurious to public health, safety, morals, and the general welfare of the community. Jim has been operating this facility, as I said, since 2019. His customers, clients, are subject to well-defined safety regulations in the handling of their dogs. The flow of traffic is rather limited to his property. He typically will train a maximum of 8 dogs at any one point in time, and his clients will visit dropping off and picking up. He has some dogs that stay though for a month at a time, that they're in a residency program. But he receives no more than 10 cars to his property, both coming and going in any one day. So that's his typical flow of traffic. So he's not a traffic generator, and he doesn't have problems with the traffic flow. And as you can see from some of the overhead aerial photos, he does have ample parking for those that serve well. You know, it'd be three, I think in the photo that I presented, there are 4 cars that are parked comfortably, and there's room for at least 5 more, but he would never have that many at one time. Probably 4 or 5 is about as many as he would have at one time. So I don't think there are any particular safety concerns or issues to the community. I will address how the dogs, that's a more defined aspect of your ordinance, and I'll address how the dogs are maintained when they're outside and specific outside kennels. But otherwise, not aware of any safety incidents or problems that have been related to this use. He must also show you our second criteria is that the use and value of the area adjacent to the property will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. So I mentioned a couple of times now, this use has continued since 2016. We think perhaps prior to that time, the Gyms Association with the prior owners, he is aware definitely they started at least 2016, and there may have been somebody prior to them. If you look at the type of buildings that are on this property, they were built in contemplation of this use. Now, those folks didn't come in here either years ago. But it's a property that is somewhat in an agrarian setting, 9 acres, but it's also a type of property that it would be hard to utilize that or those set of buildings for residential purposes only. So there is some risk that if his use isn't allowed to continue, what would happen to those buildings? You know, maybe somebody would want a lot of extra space, but arguably, or, you know, as we know, it's not necessarily open to commercial usage. And it does at least pose a risk of deterioration if the use isn't permitted. At least that's something I think that we want to consider. Vacant buildings that are unused or not fully used often invite problems, and maybe an antique car collection for one of the buildings, but even that, it's hard to imagine that working when I look at the building itself. We then need to show you factor number 3, that the need for this variance arises from a condition peculiar to the property. And as I pointed out, he should have looked into this further. He acknowledges that, and we had an earlier meeting where he stated the same. He mistakenly relied upon what he saw, I think it was a tax bill setting, or I'm not quite sure, but he saw an agricultural designation that he thought applied to his property, and he just didn't have experience with zoning matters previously, and so that caused him to be under the mistaken impression that he didn't need to go through this step. We're aware of that now, but we do have a unique circumstance in that we've got buildings that were put there by a prior owner. He mistakenly thought those were permitted and authorized, and he now has a property that is peculiar in that it can only reasonably use for a use similar to what he's operating. Then the fourth item that I need to show is that strict application of the terms of the Unified Ordinance would constitute a substantial hardship if applied. And are showing again that we can't economically use the buildings that we have without some deviation from the ordinance. And so fundamentally, that's the basis that we're seeking relief here this evening, and we understand it's in your purview. I do also want to point out that, probably hard to imagine, but I do need to at least make the showing that this does not, the proposed use does not interfere with the land use thoroughfare plan or the Porter County corridor plan or the airport plan, which are the applicable comprehensive plans for the county. Did a cursory review just to confirm, but I could find no conflict with those plans and Jim's proposed use. He then has his special exception standards, and your ordinance does at 560, 5.60A through G, set forth a series of criteria to consider for commercial kennels. And we meet, well, at least I think we have evidence to meet all of them but one. The one that we don't meet is the one that would require developmental variance for us to go forward. But I'll go through them quickly. We have setback requirements. We more than meet the setback requirements. Basically, it's 50 feet, 50 feet. The one that we won't meet is half mile from a residential neighbor. Minimum lot size is 3 acres. As I said, we have 9 acres. Minimum lot width, 200 feet. I know we're well in excess of 200 feet, but I forgot the precise measurement. Perimeter fencing. And I think this is important. If you look at page 12 of my letter, Jim talked about at some length how animals or the dogs that are trained can't escape his kennels, his outdoor kennels. He has covering at the top, so there's no chance of the dog leaping over. And then the fence itself goes, I think it goes 12 inches underground.
Well, there's wire underneath that is buried 12 inches in the ground, so the dogs can't dig out. So it's hog wire underneath all the runs that has 2x6s on top. And so those are secured down into the ground, and so no dog can dig out and no dog can escape from the top. Each kennel has a locking mechanism on it, so the dogs can't let themselves out. And every dog that's on my property is always on leash. There's no free running dogs ever on my property, so they're always contained. Most of the time during the day, they're left indoors or we're out in public training the dogs throughout the day. So there's very little time that the dogs are outside, and most of the time I have a specific individual that walks the dogs throughout the day. I personally walk every dog in the morning for them to go to the bathroom, so they're not barking in the morning. So I individually walk every single dog and then put them back indoors to make sure that I'm not having any problems with barking dogs, because I don't like it either. So I was made aware.
Let me make sure we hit all of our factors.
Yeah.
The next factor is licensing. There's not a state license. Jim has a number of certifications for the type of, he's done this training for police organizations and others over the years, and he has a number of certifications, but there's not an applicable state license. We have to show you that we have a nuisance plan. He just mentioned the noise abatement, about taking the dogs outside and how he walks them. He also has a staff member, right, that attends to the dog.
Yeah.
And can you explain the busy dog is not a noisy dog?
So they're always, all the dogs that are on my property are always being trained. So they're always active, and most of our training is done off property. So I go, you can see me at Home Depot, you can see me at Fairgrounds Park, you can see me downtown. I'm always out and about because most of our training is done there. I do private individual consultations and training at our facility, but those are all one-on-one. I don't do any group classes, so it's all one-on-one individual people with individual dogs. At the most, there's 2 dogs in a family, but so we try to make sure that when dogs are training, they're 90% of the time they're trained indoors, and then we have staff that take them on walks. I have a trail that goes around my 9 acres, and the dogs are walked all throughout the day when we're at the facility. But like today, we were gone for most of the day. So each day, we try to get dogs out in the world, so that way they know how to be obedient out in public. So we're always working dogs on location.
And then Jim also has a waste management plan that's an essential component. He's given some detail of how he handles the waste, but he has an ameliorative agent that he adds to break down the waste, and it's removed every day. So he's never had an issue or complaint with dogs. And then I'll close here, and I've gone on for a long time. We do have a supporting letter that was supporting petition, if you will, at page 5 of my letter that shows where Jim went around to his neighbors and obtained, they've known, he's been here since for a long time, and he obtained signatures from those neighbors. I do understand just from the checking in process, there is somebody who wants to speak this evening, so we're going to listen really carefully as well. I do know that Jim is very concerned and wasn't aware of a concern, so we'll listen, and then as necessary, we'll certainly come back and respond to him likewise.
Mr. Fitzgerald, do you have anything you want to add, or
No?
anything from staff before we go to the public hearing?
Just briefly, they also met with the DRC on August 7th. Staff did an informal review. He addressed the noise, waste management. You did visit the health department. If you could address that, and the sign on the road, if you could address those two.
So Dan came out to my facility and he said the septic field in the septic tank was adequate. He did say because of the new ordinance, that was, I'm not sure what date it was, but he said that I would, if approved, I would need to move my well 100 feet from my septic tank. And so I did get a quote on that. I did email it to Dan. I don't know if he forwarded it to you or not. But he said other than that, everything was okay. I do have a sign that's 24 by 36 at the end of my driveway. And I have submitted a application to approve that sign if I'm granted the use variance.
Okay. Anything else? No? All right. As was mentioned, we have people that signed up. Suzanne Hancock.
Suzanne Hancock, 37 South, 100 West. And I will say that the previous people who had the dog foundation, the canine foundation, whatever, the people came with their dogs and trained on facilities there, but then they went home. And so now I hear barking dogs. And it's funny that you mentioned that you were gone today because I didn't hear a sound over there today. So the dogs were gone. But we have 5¼ acres, we're the last ones on the road, and I don't have a dog, and I don't want a dog, and I don't want to hear a dog, and so I don't really want a kennel. I think if they came in and were trained, because I've seen you walking down the road, your dogs, you keep them controlled, they're always on the leash, they're never on my property. I appreciate that. Your property is beautiful, always maintained. It's just, I don't like barking dogs. So I have a quiet campfire out with my husband, and I don't hear that. So there you go. That's my input.
Thank you. And we have Amy Plum.
Yeah, this one's fine.
I'm Amy Plum, my husband Mike Plum. We're at 33 South, 100 West. So we're 2 doors down from the dog foundation. I don't have a problem with the foundation. He's very disciplined with the dog. Once in a while I hear a bark, but I would not say that it's overly annoying or anything like that. I have neighbors to the south of me who have dogs who probably bark more than a kennel dog, which I love my neighbors. And I know that Susan, I think, has grand dogs that come that bark in her yard, so I don't have a problem with the dog foundation. They're very well disciplined. They have actually came to our house and asked if we would sign, if they're okay to keep continuing to run it, and we did sign and we were okay. We just asked if they don't stop when they walk the dog on the street in front of our house, because we do have little dogs. And so they see them out the window, and they've been very generous in not doing that. So whatever we've asked, they've done. I don't have a problem with it. My only question would be, is there ever, when you're training with the police dogs, is there ever gunfire that is occurring?
No,
You need to ask your questions, and then they'll answer all the questions at the end, okay?
So sometimes we hear gunfire. I don't know where it's coming from. I thought maybe it was with the dog kennel, because there are canine dogs down there. That's the only thing that I would object, but if they don't have it, then...
They'll answer all your questions at the end.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Can I add something?
Sure.
Mike Baldwin, 32 South, 100 West. The only thing I would say about the dogs is there's a strip of farmland that is between his property and our property and West Huber's property. And when the corn is up, it's substantially quieter. You just get that buffer. But when the corn's down, it was a flat piece of land, and my dogs can see their dogs can see my dogs. And so when I walk across it, they both just kind of interact, even though it's probably about 200 feet. So some sort of area in there when the corn's not up would be nice, just so that it's just quieter when the corn's up. So I don't know, planting something there or keeping them, I don't know what would be better. That's the only thing that I noticed. The dogs can physically see each other at times, and, my little dog hooks up, and then they start bugging back and forth with each other, even though they're a long way apart. So, that would be the only thing that I would add that could be helpful with my backyard being quite across from his backyard.
Thank you. Anyone else who didn't sign up that wishes to speak for or against this case? Mike, would you like to say anything in rebuttal to any of those comments?
Sure, and not about to disabuse...
Hold the mic down, Mr. Rowe.
Yeah,
There you go.
not about to disabuse anybody of their, what's important to them, and I'm certainly mindful of that, but it's evident there are other dogs in the area. I do want Jim to speak to the gunfire question.
So, I don't do, if I train a police dog, I do it independently and then donate it to a department, so I don't have police dogs coming onto the property, so there's no gunfire going there. There is a shooting target, which is down at the end of all the houses, down 100. So that's probably where the gunfire is coming from, because I don't do any target practice or any shooting of guns on the property at all.
So it's not your property?
Not on my property at all.
And you heard the suggestion of a screen berm, maybe arborvitae bushes or something. Is that something you would consider?
I don't have a problem with it. I could put up, make sure that where the kennel area is, has a fence there so they can't see where the dogs are from between his property and my property. So where the building is, there are outdoor run there, but it's chain link. It's not, doesn't have a wood or something like that, so we could bury that off to make sure that the dogs, if there were a dog outside, that his dogs can't feed my dogs.
And then with respect to Suzanne's comment, she lives to the south of you, located her on the
Yeah.
GIS map, right? That where,
Yeah.
like at the corner of, I guess there's only a quarter on the map, but you can see where her property is located, right? Is there anything you think you could do to ameliorate her concern in terms of doing anything to perhaps, quite about 4 properties removed from her, something to perhaps block any barking she may hear, obstruct with noise barrier?
Well, I've done everything that when I spoke to them initially, I asked them if they had any problem with the dogs barking. They said that, they hear dogs barking, they don't like dogs barking, and I said that I would make some changes, but I didn't know that they were, didn't like the dogs, and that the dogs were bothering them. So this was months ago, and so I've been walking dogs individually, making sure all dogs are inside, and reduce the barking. And so there are a lot of dogs in my neighborhood. There's a new dog that's on the corner, there's dogs on the south of me, and there's 2 German Shepherds that live in the subdivision directly behind me that are always outside and always barking. So I've made sure that the dogs on my property are not barking, because I told her that I would take care of this, because I don't want people upset that there's dogs barking. I don't like dogs barking either. So I've done everything in my power to facilitate not having dogs barking. That's why I have one full-time staff member that cleans the property, walks dogs, to make sure that we don't have incidents.
Thank you.
Nothing further there.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing and go to comments from the board. Bob?
How many dogs are kept outside? Are they outside during the night also, or just during the day?
So the only time they're let out is to go to the bathroom. And so we let out one, if a dog isn't a barker, then we let out 1 to 2 dogs at a time, then they're rotated back indoors. So I have the indoor kennels which were pictured, and so dogs are inside probably 90% of the time. They're not let out at night, they're let out individually and walked individually. If I have a dog that barks, then I physically walk them to make sure that they do not bark. So, like I said, I have a trail. I walk every dog that's in my residency program every single morning. I let them out one at a time and put them right back indoors. And then I let them out to load them up in my van, and then I take them off to wherever I'm going to go do location training.
I just wonder if the privacy fence around the kennel, outdoor kennel, would help to dogs not be seeing that people and start barking or see other animals and stuff.
Well, there is kennels that are behind them, so and that is blocked, so we have a partition in between, so the dogs that are on the back side can't see the dogs on the front side. And so if they're individual dogs, I put them on the opposite side of that partition. So,
I just wonder, the neighbors were saying, when their dogs see your dogs or vice versa,
Yep.
then they all start barking.
Yep.
Is there anything that can be put up
Yes.
there so that doesn't happen?
Yeah, my thought would be is to put, right attached to the building, I have 2 outdoor runs. So there I could put a fence along on the outside of that fence, so the dogs can't see each other. And so,
A privacy fence or something
yeah,
like that?
yeah, I just put a privacy fence there, and to make sure that dogs don't see each other from that section.
I have nothing further.
Okay,
It had been mentioned about arborvitae, because like the corn, when it grows, it kind of like absorbs the sound.
Yeah, well, there's two sections, so I have, on one side of the property, I have my kennel building, and then on the other side of the property, I have a training facility, and it has some outdoor runs there, so when the dogs are being trained inside, and they go outdoors to go potty, and then we're letting out a dog one at a time, and then they're brought back into the training facility. And so those runs where he is, that has the corn in between that corridor, that set of runs can be seen from his property and those neighbors that are on the south. So that's where I would put the privacy fence, so any dog that is in that area that's being let out from training wouldn't see his little dogs, because all little dogs are barkers, that's just the way that they are. And so, they just have that complex. And so, I could put a privacy fence there, so then any dog that's out, and his dogs that are going to the bathroom in his backyard can't see our dogs. So that's not a problem to do.
Okay. Jim?
Pretty much addressed all my concerns on adding all this fencing or whatever is probably going to alleviate any issues you're going to have, so I think I'm good with the property. It is beautiful.
Thank you.
I live just right around the corner from there. I just don't know how long, maybe if we did want to approve it, how long for it, again, just kind of see how it goes, but I don't have any issues with it, with the fencing added and all that.
Thank you.
Luther?
You never really addressed it. Do you feel that some arborvitaes, a row of arborvitaes would help in any way?
I would be willing to put them in. I don't know that it would or it wouldn't, but I wouldn't be opposed to doing that if that's, if that was asked.
I just have no idea, you know, I just asked the question.
Sure. I mean, I think a privacy fence would keep the dogs from being able to see each other, and that's what causes dogs to bark. Usually it's frustration that they want to go see them, and so, but they can't because they're behind the fence, at least mine aren't. But, you know, my neighbor's dogs, they're running, they have acreage, so the dogs are running free. And so, you know, happy dogs chasing the ball or chasing each other, bark at each other, so. But, you know, there's no problem in putting that privacy fence there. And if, you know, if putting a row of, a stand of trees there would be fine too, if that was needed. But I would ask that I could do the privacy fence first and see if that abates it, so.
Along the lines of what you said, Jim, I'd like to give the 1 year, and then...
Yeah, I think it's privacy fence, and then in a year, if the noise is still an issue, then maybe we look at our privacy too, but.
So are we ready for a motion?
Motion to approve for period of 1 year, contingency that the privacy fence be added so that none of the neighbors' dogs can see each other. And then see how it goes.
Thank you.
We have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Can you tell?
In the matter of case number UB 2025-52, those are as follows. On the motion with conditions, Jim Claria, yes. Ileana, yes. Williams, yes. Debbie Cook, yes. Approved 4-0.
Thank you very much.
See you here.
Thank you.
Is that's all that's on the agenda. Does anybody have anything else they need to remember? If not, we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Okay, all those in favor? Another one in the books.
Yeah.